Hello there and welcome to the Jamaican kitchen. My name is Drew and today we're preparing jerk marinade. Yes, the authentic jerk marinade and the most authentic way that I know it's to be made. So today we have the main ingredients: Scotch bonnets, beautiful rosy flavor. Then we have fresh thyme, 2 teaspoons of sugar, 2 teaspoons of black pepper, and then 3 teaspoons of seasoned salt, 2 teaspoons of pimento, 1 teaspoon of nutmeg, and then we have 3 teaspoons of Italian seasoning. And in addition, we have 4 scallions or green onions, 5 cloves of garlic, and half an onion mildly chopped, and then 1 fresh lime. And then to add, a lot of people use water to thin out their marinade, but I use red stripe beer, and we just put a little splash of browning for color. So as you're preparing this, I do suggest you wear gloves and you keep the lid on when you're grinding the product, because the pepper can be very dangerous. You do not want to get it into your hands, and you do not want to get it into your eyes. So we start by popping off the green of the pepper. I am going to leave the seeds inside. If you did not want it as hot, you could cut the pepper open and remove the seeds, and then you would still have the beautiful flavor without the extreme heat. But I like mine hot, so I'm going to go ahead and put these in whole. And then we're going to add our green onions. Just a slight cut right there. Going to put our regular onion in. Our regular white onion is half a white onion. We got 5 cloves of garlic. Squeeze a lime. I add the lime because it helps it. This citric acid helps maintain it in the fridge for a longer period. Even though we have the salt and the peppers in here, which helps too, the citric acid helps keep the flavors. So we add some limes. These are quite dry. There we go. And then we add our seasonings. That's the fresh thyme. That's the sugar, fresh ground black pepper, seasoned salt, and our pimento, the nutmeg, and then our Italian seasoning. Now this is all of these measurements can be adjusted to your particular taste. This is how I make it, and I find it to be very delicious with these measurements. But you can add less salt if you're trying to watch your salt intake, reduce the pepper as I said, or you can even add more pimento. It depends on how you particularly like your flavor. And then we're just going to add a splash of beer and a drip of browning. It's less than half a teaspoon, and put your lid on. So at this point you want to make sure that anything after now, you be careful when you take the lid off. You don't want it to splash in your face. You definitely do not want this in your eye. This last little hit should be it. Let's have a look. Alright. Good consistency. So we need it to have small chunks. See right here? Really small chunks. It's not a paste, but there's still chunks in it, which is perfect. And we're going to do a quick taste to make sure that there's enough seasoning and enough salt just on the back of the spoon, because this will be very hot. Wow, that's awesome. Ooh, and it's hot too. This is really hot. So now we'll take this and we're going to put it in this glass jar, And I do suggest that you use glass. Using plastic, you're very difficult to get the smell of the peppers and the seasoning out. And then using anything that has metal in it will cause an issue too, because of the citric acid and the peppers will cause an issue with metal. So you go ahead and you put it in a glass jar and put it in the fridge. It should be good for up to 2 weeks, like this. If you needed to, if you wanted to keep it longer than 2 weeks, you could go ahead and remove the beer out of it and just use water instead. You lose a little bit of the flavor, but that's okay. But by adding the water instead, it will last a little longer in the fridge. Or you could even add more lime juice and a little bit more salt if you want to extend the lifespan. But doing that, you could even keep it for as long as a month, if not even longer. Just check it every once in a while to make sure it's still okay. But with this amount of pepper and salt in it, I can't imagine it going bad very quickly. I've kept it longer than a month and have no issues doing it whatsoever. So, there you go. This is Jerk Marinade. It's quick and easy to do. It's a lot cheaper to do it at home, especially if you have the peppers like I'm lucky enough to have the Scotch bonnets. With this amount of marinade, you'd be able to do at least an entire pork butt and a dozen or more pieces of chicken. And I use a masonry jar, seal it tight, put it in the fridge. As I said, it's good for probably 2 to 3 weeks, or you could extend the life of it. And today we are preparing jerk chicken. So as the video I done before, we made our own jerk marinade, and we're going to do a light seasoning because as you saw in the marinade, we already put seasoned salt and garlic and whatnot in the marinade, but we are going to do a light seasoning on the chicken, and just very lightly. So seasoned salt on the chicken and garlic. Then we're going to add our marinades and massage thoroughly. So we just do a very light seasoning. If you do too much, it will end up being slightly salty. And so this is approximately 5 pounds of chicken quarters. They are quite large chicken quarters that have been washed and trimmed. And the secret to, as far as I'm concerned, for me, the secret to really good jerk is to make sure that you use bone in, and also you keep the skin on your chicken. That way you keep the moisture inside and your chicken doesn't dry out. And also, unlike when we do pork, we don't pierce the chicken. I've noticed in the past, I've seen some people actually pierce the chicken with a knife trying to get the seasoning to go into the meat. That's the wrong thing to do, because you actually end up piercing the membrane that's retaining the fluid in the chicken as you cook. So you're better off not doing that. And if you season the chicken properly and let it sit in the fridge for at least 1 day, the seasoning will get into the chicken. So we're going to go ahead and add our jerk, nicely covered. As I said in the marinade video, the jerk marinade video, that this would do approximately a dozen pieces of chicken and an entire pork butt. I will use this on a pork butt later on this week. Okay, rub it in really well, and at any points that you can get seasoning up under the skin, take advantage of that too. But don't pull the skin away too much, because as I said, you want to keep as much of it on the chicken as possible. That way you retain moisture. Alright, so we'll thoroughly season these. We've got good coverage here. So the chicken should be covered nicely all the way across. So what we'll do with this now, we'll wrap it tightly with cling film and we'll put it in the fridge. I prefer to season it 2 days prior to using it, to cooking. But 1 day would be okay. Overnight would be fine. But you seal it tightly so you don't have all the seasoned smells in your fridge, because they're quite potent. And then we'll cook these on the grill over pimento wood and coals and smoke them for probably around about an hour to 20 minutes. Depending on the size, these are quite large thighs, so depending on the size of your thighs and the thickness of your meat, it will depend on your cooking time. But I'll try to cook them a little slower than usual, because I like to smoke them so the smoke gets into the meat and the meat stays really tender and juicy. So I'm going to go ahead, wrap these up, put these in the fridge, and I'll see you in a couple of days. Welcome back to the Jamaican kitchen, and as you can see, we're doing the smoke, and in the pit we have coals that are now nicely burnt and white. We have pimento wood chips, and also have a small piece of cherry wood. I like to use the cherry wood, it adds a little extra flavor. And this is the chicken that we seasoned 2 days ago with the jerk marinade we made, homemade jerk marinade. And we already have our smoker going, and as you can see to the far right, already had some pork on there today, which is still finishing. But we're going to go ahead now and add our chicken. You can watch the pork jerk video on my channel as well. There we go. These are really sizable chicken quarters, so they're probably going to take a good hour and 20 minutes to cook. Last piece. Alright. Good space between them. Okay, we'll see you back shortly. As you can see, we have plenty of smoke coming through there, and it's important to have good smoke for the first couple of hours, because that's when the meat picks up most of the flavor. Beautiful feast for the July the 4th holiday. Look how tender and delicious that pork is, and what a beautiful, lovely bark. So delicious, full of nothing but pepper. I love my Scotch bonnet. Well, this was a combined video today. We did jerk pork and also jerk chicken. Please go ahead and give a thumbs up and subscribe, and hit the notification button if you liked what you see, so you can see whatever I upload in the future. Thank you for joining us today. Happy holidays and God bless. That's how man for feed man belly.